The New South Wales Treasurer leading moderate Matt Kean. Matt, thanks so much for your time. What happened?
Laura, well, the Liberal Party is at its best when we focus on our core values. Values of enterprise, the rights of the individual, building a strong economy and a strong defence for our country. Those values didn't stop talking to the community. We've seen a backlash in our heartland seats because the Liberal Party stopped talking to those values. We need to get back to core business, and that's focusing on building a stronger, more prosperous society for everyone. We need to get back to those values of building a secure country for everyone. That's core business. We can't get distracted by these fringe issues and manufactured culture wars. We need to focus on the policies that the community is concerned about. Otherwise, we'll continue to see backlashes in our heartland if we go down the wrong path.
But the moderates are the one that lost their seats, up to 10. They weren't running the culture wars, were they?
Well, it's no one's fault in particular. It's what we as a party have done collectively. We as a party need to be focused on building a stronger economy. We as a party need to be putting forward policies that will address create jobs and grow a more prosperous future for everyone. And you can't do that if you're not taking climate change seriously. You can't seriously talk about building a strong economy if you don't have serious policies to address the issue of climate change. You can't talk about building a more secure country if you don't have policies to address the issue of climate change. That's just one example. But the example also is of women. I mean, we can't win elections if women are not voting for us at the same level as men are voting for us. So clearly there is a disconnect between the Liberal Party's policy platform that we took to the election and the issues that women have been talking about in our communities for a long time. Unless we address these issues, we are going to continue to lose seats in our heartland.
OK, let's talk about climate change for a start. You say you need actual policies or credible policies to tackle climate change. I mean, the government did commit to net zero. Was that not enough?
Well, that was a great achievement of Scott Morrison, and it wouldn't have happened without his leadership. But you also need to be seen as sincere in the community by putting in place the policies that will help you get there. And I think that we looked like we were coming to this issue too late in the piece, and as a result, the community didn't trust us. We need to build back that credibility, and we can start by having a stronger target when it comes to our 2030 emissions reduction objective. We can start by putting in place policies that will actually help us to get
something
there,
down
Laura.
here. Are you talking about, the credibility of not only putting in place net zero, but believing in it? I mean, are you talking about the Nationals or the Liberals in that?
No, I'm not. The coalition is at its best when we represent the voices and concerns of rural and regional Australia, and also the voices and concerns of people living in our metropolitan cities. And clearly, the policy settings that the Nationals argued for were right for their communities, but the policy settings that the representatives of our city seats were arguing for were rejected. So we haven't got the balance right.
How do you fix that?
We need to go back to the drawing board.
How do you speak to the regions and those inner city seats?
Well, I'd suggest the way we've done it in New South Wales. We've settled the climate wars here in this state because we've worked out policy settings that were supported by the Nationals, supported by Conservative Liberals and supported by moderate Liberals. There is a way through on this, and it's when you're talking about climate change in and of itself, you're losing the debate. But when you're focusing on things, policies to address the issue of climate change that create jobs, that drive investment into the country and grow our prosperity, that's where Liberals win the discussion. So we need to get back to focusing on this as an economic opportunity for our nation and putting in place policies that will seize those opportunities and set ourselves up for success in the regions and also in the cities.
What about women? You've mentioned women. Why didn't they vote for moderate Liberals?
Well, I don't think we were seen as credible on these issues. I mean, we have stopped listening to the concerns of women. I mean, the reality is that one woman dies at the hand of their partner through domestic or family violence every week. The reality is that women earn less than men for the same work. women retire with 1/3 of the superannuation balances of their male counterparts. And there's no denying the fact that women are not able to participate fully in our economy because they take on the bulk of care for children and also seniors. So until we have credible policies to address those challenges, we'll continue to see women not supporting the party in the same way that men are. I think that we need to be sincere. We need to listen to the concerns of women, and we need to have credible policies to deal with them. I mean, you cannot be the party of equality of opportunity. You cannot be the party that's focused on building a strong economy if you're denying opportunities to more than 50% of the population. We need to go back to the drawing board, listen to the concerns of women, and put in place policies that will address them and set everyone up in this country to succeed, no matter what their gender is.
But what about your own party? I mean, you use the example of the rest of the nation. Your own party isn't heeding that. You're a moderate leader in New South Wales, and you can't get women to run for pre-selection. And if they do, they weren't put in particularly safe seats. And you just lost 6 women, many of them in New South Wales, right across the country. So what are you doing in the factions to make sure that happens?
Well, we've got an institutional problem in the Liberal Party, man. Why is it people like Allegra Spender, the daughter of Carla Zampatti, one of the biggest donors to the Liberal Party, is not wanting to represent the Liberal Party? Why is it Dr. Sophie Scomps, the new member for Mackellar, an Olympic athlete, a local GP, an economically rational person, is not sticking their hand up, wanting to fly the Liberal flag into battle? Well, I think because our party is not listening to the concerns of people, these professional women. They're not making it attractive for people to join and to participate and to ultimately represent us. Until we fix the institutional problems in the party, which I have a role to do, we're not going to be seeing these smart, professional, talented Liberal women coming forward. We should be welcoming them with open arms, not pushing them away. And that's something that we need to look at and reform if we're going to be successful.
And Katherine Deves, that was an experiment.
Well, I think the people of Warringah have had their say on Katherine Deves and the way she's engaged in the debate. And clearly, these confected, manufactured culture wars have been rejected resoundingly by the people of Warringah and more broadly by the Australian community. I mean, what people want to see from their community leaders is inclusive leadership and respectful debate, and putting forward candidates that don't want to practice the politics of inclusion, that don't want to engage in respectful debate, has been resoundingly rejected. So we need to make sure that we're picking candidates that want to be community leaders, that will bring the community together and argue for a stronger, more prosperous future for everyone. And that's the lesson to be learned from what's happened in Warringah. And
what do you think of it, Peter Dutton, leader?
Look, I think Peter Dutton is he's been a leading Liberal for a long time. I know that he's a pragmatic man that puts the Liberal Party first and puts the nation first. And, I don't have a vote in the federal party room. That's a matter for my federal colleagues. But whoever leads the Liberal Party needs to heed the lessons of the weekend. And that is, if you lurch too far to the right, then you lose the middle ground. And what we saw in Warringah, in North Sydney, in Wentworth, in Mackellar, in Goldstein, and of course in Kooyong, was not a huge mass enrolment of left-leaning voters. These were Liberal voters that left the Liberal Party. They went, and they didn't leave it for candidates on the right or parties on the right. They left it for candidates that were arguing for stronger action on climate change. They left it for candidates that wanted to see more inclusion for women. They left it for candidates that were arguing for an integrity commission to keep politicians accountable. And unless we respond to that message that was delivered, then we will continue to lose elections.
OK, Matt, really interesting to hear from you on that. It was a semi-endorsement of Peter Dutton. I mean, he's from the right. It's no secret that you're from the left in New South Wales. That's quite a big step for you.
I think Peter Dutton is a man that's always stood up and fought for our Liberal values, and I think he's a man that's always fought to build a stronger and more secure country for our nation. And, you know, Liberals are at our best when we're arguing for a stronger and more prosperous economy. We're at our best when we're arguing for a secure nation so everyone can succeed. And I'm confident that whoever leads the Liberal Party will heed the lessons that we've learnt on the weekend and make sure that we continue to be a broad church representing the diversity of our community. That means making sure that we've got voices that represent our inner city metropolitan electorates, and also marrying that with voices that stand up for our rural and regional communities. That's when the coalition's at its strongest, standing up for the diversity of our community and fighting for the values that have made this party the greatest political party in the history of this country. They're the values of freedom, of enterprise, of individual rights, of a strong economy and a secure Australia.
Yeah. Matt Kean, very interesting to talk to you this morning. We'll speak again soon.
Thank you, Laura.